President and Vice-Chancellor, as public orator, may I, Professor Graham Shipley, present Eliot Higgins, a candidate for an honorary degree. Among the medieval tales inserted into the collection of fables by the ancient Greek storyteller Aesop is one entitled The Mice in Council. You've probably heard the story. A band of mice, fearful of the local cat, decide that a bell should be hung around its neck so that they can hear it coming and keep safe. The difficulty comes when they need a volunteer. How can anyone possibly get close enough to the cat to hang the bell around its neck? The fable warns us not to have unrealistic aspirations, but it can also be taken as an inspiration to press on fearlessly until your plans are completely secure of attainment. Such is the inspiration drawn from the story by the group with whom our honorand is famously linked, Bellingcat, an investigative journalism group based in the Netherlands, but created and led by Eliot Higgins. His work and that of his colleagues will be of interest to many graduates in the hall today from the College of Social Sciences, Arts and Humanities. Eliot and his colleagues use open source data to shed light, without fear or favour, on things the powers and principalities of our troubled world would rather you didn't know. Bellingcat and Eliot's earlier work as an investigative blogger are inspired and made possible by the sweeping changes in social media over the last 15 or 20 years. Knowledge and access to it have been decentralized, allowing individual citizens to influence the public discourse and even the behavior of governments on the basis of publicly available evidence. Images uploaded to the internet, for example, can be analyzed using evidence of the time of creation, facial recognition software, geolocation, and a range of other techniques to furnish proof without the need for investigators to put themselves at risk or expose secret sources. Bellingcat is careful not to overinterpret the data. It may leave others to draw conclusions from the evidence which, presented to the world and made available to researchers, news organisations and state-level legal agencies, gives authority to the exposure of injustice, wrongdoing, crimes linked to espionage, and strategic dangers that threaten not only governments, but ordinary people across the world. Among the investigations that made Bellingcat famous have been its work during the Syrian civil war, the confrontation between Ukraine and Russia that began a decade ago, the shooting down of flight MH17, the Salisbury poisonings, an international range of events, including in Asia, Australasia, and the Americas, upon which Eliot and his growing team have shed light. As a result, Bellingcat has become the go-to investigative source for journalists and legal authorities in the free countries of the world. Bellingcat's sources of income include crowdfunding, personal donations, a host of awards and grants from charities and social justice organisations, and more recently, income from training courses and workshops, many of which are run in cooperation with schools and universities. The group practices transparency throughout the investigative process, allowing anyone to check its data and methods. Human rights organisations, governmental agencies, and academic bodies have followed Bellingcat's lead to develop open source research further. Social media are often blamed for many of the world's ills. Used rightly, however, they can give us the tools to put things right. Eliot Higgins is an optimist, convinced of the potential of open source research to change the world in ways which traditional or legacy media are often unable or unwilling to pursue. Beyond ongoing investigative work, Eliot aims to educate the public through training, widening the pool of open source investigators, and developing critical thinking as widely as possible. This will counteract the misuse of social media by bad actors and catch people before they get stuck inside a bubble made up only of those who think like themselves. The next generation will be more adept at questioning what they are told by news agencies, governments, and social media. Questions, of course, may not only reveal what we have been told is unreliable, it can also map out what we can be sure of. An approach emphasising local issues and concerns has been found to motivate students at school and in universities more effectively. Eliot points to instances where grassroots investigation, using publicly available evidence, has changed the policies and behaviour of local agencies, such as councils or the police. The legacy of this approach is clear to see. Once people find that open source research can change the circumstances in which they live, they do not forget this lesson. Eliot Higgins, who was born in Shropshire but has lived in Leicestershire for over 20 years, has become a force for good in the world. He has been invited to join international governmental bodies, has served as a visiting academic at universities in Britain and abroad, and has been profiled in a BBC radio programme which you can still access. He has been recognised in 2019 as one of Foreign Policy magazine's global thinkers, while the news organisation Politico designated him in 2021 one of the 28 most influential people in Europe in the disruptors category. His many awards include the British-based Magnitsky Human Rights Award for the Outstanding Investigative Journalist (brackets International) of 2018, and the Peace of Nijmegen Medal 2024 from the municipality of Nijmegen in the Netherlands, Radboud University, and the Royal Haskoning Engineering Consultancy. In 2024 also, Bellingcat received the Roosevelt Freedom of Speech Award from the Roosevelt Institute in New York. In short, he is an exemplary citizen of change, of whom the City and County of Leicester can be justly proud. He has done us an honour in accepting this award, and we hope that a warm relationship with this university will develop as time goes on. President and Vice-Chancellor, on the recommendation of the Senate and the Council, I present Eliot Higgins, that you may confer upon him the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws.
First of all, thank you for this great honour. It means a great deal to me. I would also like to thank my family, who've been a great support through the 12 years I've spent starting just as a simple blogger and developing an organisation that now has an international impact. I'd like to especially thank my wife, Honorary, who's been very, very supportive of my work over the years, despite the many difficulties it's faced. We sometimes can look around the world and see a rise in authoritarianism, a regression of democracy, systems that we have relied on seemingly collapsing around us, and maybe see that maybe 2030 may be more like 1930. But what the work of Bellingcat offers to the public, not just in terms of information, but in terms of interaction, is an opportunity for everyone to become involved with the process of shoring up our democracy, to actually say that the truth does matter, that discovering the truth is not something that should be left to journalists, professional investigators, but anyone can be part of that process. And I think this is especially important to the younger generation, that we now live in a society where the way we receive information has shifted from this top-down gatekeep model where newspaper editors and the government decides what information we see, to a peer-to-peer model where anyone can produce, share, and be part of the process of creating information. But that also requires a responsibility, not just from the people who are involved in that process, who are the social media users themselves, but from those people who can actually provide education, who can provide support to actually help people find the truth. But I believe it is not enough to teach people how to find the truth. The truth has to matter. Telling people that the truth is important, helping them find the truth, and then actually having no impact from that will just drive those same factors that lead people into the rabbit's holes, that lead them to conspiracy theories, to rejecting mainstream orthodoxy with no real evidence or reason behind that. We need to show that it is not just important to teach people how to find the truth, but we need to show them how to do that. So through the work of Bellingcat, we've been working with universities, we've been working with schools to teach people how to do that. But I do not see this as something that ends at education. It begins with education. It's something that you bring through your entire life. All of you here today have an opportunity to be part of this, to actually impact in your individual fields how things are perceived, how the truth is discovered. And I would encourage all of you that if you want to be involved, get involved. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. I didn't wait for someone to give me permission, and it was hard at first, but now there's lots of people who can be part of a community, who can support you and teach you how things are done. If you want to get involved. Because I think ultimately, if we leave the truth to those people who are wealthy, the billionaires of the world who are now deciding what social media platforms decide what is the truth and what isn't, the politicians who talk about fake news all the time, we need to start actually, as people, as a community, as democracy, start pushing back against this. So I hope all of you will find some opportunity to do that, and I hope Bellingcat will provide some inspiration for you to do that. Thank you very much for the honor, and thank you again.